Hey, hello, dobar dan, good afternoon, dear clients, dear friends. I can't see you, but I'm really excited to see such a long list of our clients and friends here listening to us. And also, I'm very happy to open up this session. As you know, this is serial of events that we presenting these days, the whole June. And our idea was to bring in the region neuroscience that has been done so long in Ipsos. Now we integrated our knowledge and also practice. And now we want to share with you, especially in this region, what we use and what we think about such a complex area of knowledge and science, and how we look, what's our point of view, all of that. Today we are very happy having here Manuel Garcia, who will talk about this journey, how we make the science here about neuro. And this is the journey from validation to practice. And after that, I will talk to you about our practice and what we do here in Serbia and how we integrated such a complex story and a complex system of knowledge that our colleagues from science organization did for all of us. So, Matthew, the floor is yours, and thank you.
Hello, it's my turn, right? My turn now, right? Am I good, Snezana?
Yeah, you're here.
Wonderful. Well, dobar dan, everybody. It's my pleasure to be here. My name is Manuel Garcia. I'm the global lead of neuroscience here at Ipsos as part of a larger group that's the Global Science Organization that are in charge of bringing all scientific rigor to everything that we do and to all of our approaches that we bring to you guys. A little bit about my background. I obviously have a PhD in cognitive neuroscience. I come from the academic world. I've been in the industry for quite a bit, in different places like Nielsen and the Advertising Research Foundation. And I've been with Ipsos for a number of years, leading all that's the practice on neuroscience. And I always kept like one of my feet in the academic world. I've been teaching consumer neuroscience at New York University for a few years. I also developed, I want to show you the textbook in consumer neuroscience that you can find in English and also in Japanese, which probably won't be too helpful. But it's there if you, in case you guys are like very interested in learning all the ins and outs of neuroscience. But I'm really excited to present you all the foundational and fundamental work we're doing at Ipsos in the field. So let's just get into this. Here we are, neuroscience at Ipsos, your best bet for total understanding. These are the things we're going to be covering today. So first, I want to share with you how we approach neuroscience here, because we use, different from, I guess, smaller agencies that you can find out there, a very holistic approach, because as you know, within the total understanding, Ipsos prides itself in having expertise in different areas that can bring to all of you. So one of the elements of my job that brings me most pleasure is that I get to work with experts on different aspects of consumer and opinion research and bring neuroscience and scientific rigor to all the approaches we develop, as well as the thought leadership. So I will explain you some of the work that we do on that and the lab that we have in Paris. And then it will be also my pleasure to talk to you about the Ipsos dynamic decision-making model. That's a model we have developed together with some academic experts that we work with, and also to working together, all integrated at the Global Science Organization. So I'll explain what there is. There are a lot of documents that we can share with you if you're interested to read about that and how that links to the case studies. That is probably what you're most interested in, why all these more complex cognitive models that are based in the latest research can bring richer insights to your research. And yes, Snezana will be covering those case studies, and then I'll close with what's next, because we are always working and investing in innovation. So I will talk to you about some of the things that we're working on right now, some of the latest thought leaderships and publications that we're putting out there. These days, there's one that is actually fresh out of the oven that just came out yesterday. That's called Time to Decide. And then there's the podcast around it. So and I think you'll be very interested in that, because that's with very scalable and approachable applications. So stay tuned, because we'll get to case studies later. But first, I want to explain how we approach neuroscience. So one things that I really enjoy about being here. So as I said, I'm part of a group, global, with an Ipsos, that's called the Global Science Organization. And that brings together different disciplines, including behavioral sciences, including neuroscience, including data science and artificial intelligence. And it's really stimulating to work all together with all these experts across different fields to put our heads together and bring the best and the newest of science to our approaches, to our services, to our offers. So that's something that's really stimulating. But also on top of that, as you might know, Ipsos is now structured across different types of expertise, including innovation, creative evaluation, public affairs, et cetera, So we're not one of those business groups, but we work across all of them. So it's also really stimulating to be able to work with such diverse group of experts to bring my expertise, their expertise, and develop the best thing. And that's what we call the total understanding, because at Ipsos we deliver the total understanding of societies, markets, and people, but using science as a foundation, and that's what also makes it a true understanding. And even through pandemic and everything that's been happening lately, and I hope everyone's doing fine. I hear Serbia is doing pretty good in terms of vaccination. We never wanted to compromise this holistic approach, and definitely we never compromised the science behind it, because that's why we're here. But we do prioritize approaches that can meet your needs in a way that's agile and that's very scalable. So we'll be talking about some of them. I'm also very happy to share that we work in partnership with some academic experts. We have this partnership with the folks from the neurodevelopmental psychology lab in LabCide, which is in La Sorbonne in Paris, Professor Olivier Houdet and Professor Craig Borst. And also here in the United States, we work with my friend, Professor Vinod Venkatraman, who's a developmental decision neuroscientist here at Temple University in Philadelphia, in Pennsylvania. And these are the people that we work with through long weeks of stimulating discussion to develop the Ipsos dynamic decision-making model. So focusing on neuroscience, I want to explain which are the three hot topics that we have been focusing on during the past year and a half, 2 years. First one is understanding the system that explains dynamic decision making. and that would explain how to introduce or how to induce a change in an attitude or a change in behavior, how we can disrupt something that has become a habit through the effective intervention to get a change in behavior. For instance, to get a change on what's the brand they do their consumer buys daily. And this links directly to the dynamic decision-making model that I'm gonna tell you about. You might be familiar with the whole system 1, system 2. This is going one step further, following the latest science. Then we also focused on deepening insights about the whole experience with multi-channel measurement. And I will explain that this is what we do to quantify what's the incremental value of integrating different channels. So we actually have a physical lab in Paris that's fully dedicated to foundational research, to R&D. And there we've done some research that I will mention in a minute, integrating different neurophysiological channels like electroencephalography, EEG, like galvanic skin response, GSR, heart rate, eye tracking, facial affective response, so that we can look across those channels and identify what's adding some value, because we never want to offer, you know, neuroscience for neuroscience or some data source just for the sake of it, but we like to prove that it's adding some value to your research. And then finally explaining variance with neuroscience. So it's exactly that, conducting neuroscience research to identify which are the KPIs that let us better understand markets and societies, which are the ones that better explains people's behavior, how people behave actually in the store, how people behave actually when they go about their real lives. So as I said, this is one example of something we've done in terms of fundamental research. As I said, we have in Paris, actually in our headquarters, a neuroscience R&D lab. And this lab developed a database of images and videos with emotional natures that are rated in different emotional dimensions, such as valence, arousal, and control. Coming from the academic world, this is something that have existed in the academic world, and well, that actually does exist in the academic world. It might be a little outdated by now, and also, you know, it's limited on the applications that we can do for real world testing. So this is why we developed the Ipsos database of emotional pictures, including a library of 100 images that, as I said, are measured on valence, arousal, and control. Valence is, for instance, between something that's pleasant or unpleasant. Arousal is between something that's calm and that is very exciting. So you can see here some examples of some pictures that we measured that are, you know, exciting but negative but unpleasant, calm but unpleasant, pleasant and calm, excited and pleasant. Right. So with that, and the same we've done with videos, and also with videos that we know the in-market ad effectiveness and also memory effectiveness. So with all that knowledge in hand of stimuli that we were testing, we were able to collect a lot of different channels, as I said, in our lab in Paris with electroencephalography. As some of you know, that that's capturing the electrical activity in the brain from the scalp. So that's a very interesting signal, very limiting in terms of scalability, and because the signal to noise ratio is very low, it's like a very noisy signal. But in this case, we were doing this in a lab, so that was very controlled. Heart rate with these electrodes that you can see on the right and left wrist of this lady. Galvanic skin response, that's measuring the level of arousal, the level of excitement by measuring the perspiration of the skin, like very subtle levels of sweat. So we were collecting all of that at the same time, also the eye tracking and also the facial expression, the facial affective response. So we could look at that and identify what channels are explaining the level of arousal, the level of valence, the level of control. So then we can translate some of this knowledge into approaches that can be applicable to all of you. So this is some of the work that we have been doing in our GSO lab, in our R&D lab in Paris. But there's also something that's a lot more every day that we do, because we work very strongly on the development of new approaches that then they get scaled to all of you and to some of all across all the 90 countries where Ipsos is present. So something that we work very closely on is a program of validation. Right, so there are 3 types of validations that are really important to Ipsos, and that we run all of our new approaches that we work on the development. And one is construct validity, then test retest reliability, and then ultimate value. So that is added value. So construct validity is testing whether you're measuring what you are meaning to measure. Are you measuring what you say you're measuring? So we do that through academic literature, so through like things that we know from the industry, and also through ground truth databases like the one I was just explaining, the Ipsos database of emotional picture. So we can have, you know, that serious criterion in testing. When we look at test retest reliability, the question we're answering is that would we get the same results under the same condition in a similar population? Is this something we can extrapolate to the general population? And also with this test, would we identify what's the minimal sample size that that we can use to have a good confidence interval, to have confidence that those results can be generalized to the general population. Something we do through sample bootstrapping and through test retest. And then the last one, which is very very important to us, because we don't like adding data sources just because, is the ultimate value or the added value. So is this relevant? Is this channel relevant to the service or product we're delivering to you guys, to the clients? Does it help to make a decision, a go, no go decision? So that's really important to us. So these 3 types of validations are things on which our experimental research lab and myself are very involved with. So one example of that is kind of recent, and it's really relevant because I know that in a couple of weeks, my colleague Ian Payne from the United Kingdom will be talking to you about the use of eye tracking through the webcam for pack test. And I think it was last year, or yeah, I think it was early last year that we conducted this validation of webcam-based eye tracking. And I was personally a little skeptical because, as you know, like when we're doing eye tracking in a lab, well, originally there would be like a chin hold, like back in the day. So you don't move once you calibrate what's the position of your eyes. You don't move your head. Obviously that has evolved, and now when you do it in the lab, you just like try to not move your head, and that's more than good enough, and it can detect some head movement. But I was personally a little skeptical on webcam, right? Because you're in front of your computer at home, and you calibrate with the position of your head, and then the stimuli come kind of short. But yeah, so obviously we, like, no matter what I personally think, we're gonna test it. And we did, and we evaluated 3 different approaches to webcam-based eye tracking. And not only because this heat map that was playing here, this looks pretty and it's very, you know, directionally insightful. But where the actual insights come from is when we take a package and we divide it into the areas that are interesting to you, like that are important to you. Like here will be the top, the logo, in this example for Nescafe, the product, coffee beans, some claim here. And you actually want to know with quantifiable data and quantitatively what's the attention being captured by each one of these areas. So that's, you know, the heat map is nice, but this is where the true insights come. And we have like 3 main metrics, 3 main KPIs. So catching effects, like how long it takes for a respondent to ever fixate, to ever look at one of these areas. Then the time spent, so total time spent looking at one area that can be showing interest in that area, and also the percentage of participants that looked at one area, because that's where the actual insights come from. And then, so this is what we use to validate, right? So we run, as I said, experiments with 3 different approaches to webcam-based eye tracking, and we tested 5 different stimuli of 3 different types of stimuli. This is very particular for pack test, as Ian will explain in 2 weeks. So we use like single packages, smaller shelves, and more complex shelf displays. And yeah, this is the approach that we went with. And you can see that the correlation on those very quantifiable KPIs is pretty good. So we can be confident that what we're offering to you to measure the attention of the consumer over your packaging and over your shelf is absolutely validated and correlates with what would happen in a more controlled environment, like in a lab. And with this introduction, I would like to talk to you about the Ipsos dynamic decision-making model. And also I'd like to mention that there are, I think at this point, very different versions and very different documents on how, in which we talk about dynamic decision-making model and also how it applies to brands. So we have something that's developed by us by the GSO that are the scientific reports. Those are like internal, very technical Ipsos documents. We are happy to share with you if you're interested in that level of technicality. So there's one about this model. There are papers for, well, there are peer-reviewed papers in academic journals. There are papers for a presentation in ESOMAR in 2020. And then we also have an Ipsos views that's called Dancing with Duality. And I'll absolutely recommend just starting with that because that's very specific to its application to brands. But I'm gonna spend the next, I guess, 10 minutes talking to you about the dynamic decision-making model and how this way of thinking and this framework applies to the application of consumer neuroscience for the work we do for our clients. So there's a prevailing narrative, I guess, these days in popular culture and sort of in the industry that talks about a dichotomy between decisions made in a slow and deliberative way and those decisions that are fast and automatic. As you know, many decisions like choosing your everyday brand or even motor skills like just like walking or riding a bike. So those are things that do not require much thinking, that do not require the deployment of any cognitive resources. And that's because our brain just evolved into making decisions in an economic way without having to consume much energy. And then there are some decisions that we need to stop and ponder. But this is not a dichotomy. This is actually just the extremes in a continuum. So based on all the work that we've been doing with labs today and other labs around the world, we know that cognitive processing is not binary, but falls along a continuum that ranges from this slow and deliberative fashion to fast and automatic. And traditionally, they would talk about that system one, that automatic thinking, and then sometimes it's system two, disrupting. But this is not really supported by the data. That's a little oversimplified, and that was actually not even what Kahneman meant on his famous book, Thinking Fast and Slow. In real life, there are like multiple processes that are launched, that unfold, that cross feed, that stop, that are resumed, and that overlap in time. And then the most critical thing of this model, which is actually this is actually not really new, is that there's a regulatory process. Professor Uday calls that system 3, but we don't want to add systems that regulates, that monitors and guides all of these processes, allowing a person to come to a response or to a behavior that's adapted to the context. And then very importantly, all of this is deeply influenced by different elements. So one being the stimulus we are reacting to. Oops, sorry. Here. The goals and motivations, prior associations, prior behavior, what's happened in the past, like if I choose this brand and in the past I hated it, that's going to influence my future decisions, and how your body reacts to a stimulus, right? And then how we interpret that reaction from the body. So I have one example here to show you. So in this case, we have our friend Bart. His friend sends him a link to a video to see the moon landing. And that activates here a lot of associations about space travel, about childhood memories of the past. His body reacts with feelings of nostalgia, with feelings of excitement, and evokes a goal or motivation to actually click and see the video. So all those processes are integrated. There's not much disruption. Pretty much just a quick impulse to go and click the video. That's all that happens in those few, probably less than a second, between receiving the link and clicking the link. But then what happens when we click on the link and we see a pre-roll ad for Tesla, for instance? One of those pre-rolls that you can skip in 5 seconds, right? And our friend Bart has been curious about Tesla and look for how it works, what are the features, what's the company. So he's watching the ad, and he gets into a negative but excited feeling about this ad. But you know what happens? What do you do when you're watching a video, when you're trying to watch a video on YouTube and you have the skip ad? Even if you have some interest, automatically we have this big behavior in skipping the ad. So this automatic behavior just kicks in, and Bart skips the ad because the ad was not, this integration was not strong enough to disrupt this automatic impulse to close the ad. So he goes to skip ad. And there he goes. So why is this all relevant to all of you? So we have like this very complex framework that includes a lot of elements, and that it's very lean towards developing very rich insights for all of you. And all of these elements can be captured through different types of research. And we're not talking only about neurophysiological channels at this point. Like you can see on some of these elements, like EEG, like response time, eye tracking, facial affective response, galvanic skin response, also through experimentation, through behavior experimentation, also through observational studies, through choice studies, through social media listening. And this is like actually something that's very important for us, which is using these multiple measures for the total understanding. So approaching things in a holistic manner, so we can integrate the data sources that are most relevant to you to answer your question by looking at the different elements of decision making that that are actually relevant for each case. And this is where I'm gonna give the stage to Snezana to explain some of these cases where we integrate different data sources to bring total understanding, to bring the richest insights to all of you.
Hello. I hope you can hear me. Yeah. Thank you, dear Manuel, and also dear attendees. I hope that you got the impression how serious the science behind oral techniques that we apply today in neuroscience, and also we combine all of them in one holistic approach. So for me and for my colleagues here in Ipsos, it was very important to explain dynamic decision model also together with, of course, techniques that we apply, because it sounds very complex and it's maybe too scientific and too academic, but this is not magic, this is science. And that's why when we are sure about the techniques that we use, we can offer to you. So at the beginning, of course, the technology accelerations give us a lot of choice. We were facing with reaction time, brain imaging, GSR, eye tracking, EEG, and facial coding, and so many. So we were, let's say, we were actually facing with lots of methodology and lots of requests from our clients what will be done, and many of them actually asking for the best end solution. That's usually EEG or brain imaging, very expensive techniques. Also, there was a lot of doubts about other measures. They're more simple and unique, simple and, let's say, basic. And that's why we did a lot of validation to find a kind of smart approach. At the first place, we're really serious about methodology. And that is our principle, especially here in Ipsos. We never offered something that we are not sure enough about the validation and reliability of the results. So we have to find a kind of smart solutions that are applicable in many situations, very, let's say, very validated and reliable, and they could actually help us to solve the business questions that we are facing with. So the first thing was to find validated tools and also applicable. But also our clients, when they are asking about the best tools in portfolio, they're usually high end, for example, brain imaging. But in the other hand, they're asking for agile, actionable, and affordable results. So we call it AAA, and we are facing on one side we have requests for reliable and high-end modern solutions, and also to be actionable, affordable, and let's say smart. And that's the rule number one. Do we always use the most expensive or the most complex technique to measure some implicit reactions, such as, for example, brain activity and emotions and so on? Usually, we have tests, for example, to measure likability. Do we need brain activity for that case? I'm not sure. We can do, of course, we can do it, but also that was not the smartest solution. I believe that most of you know the relation between census and the sampling. And the rule is, the same rules applied here. Census is, of course, the most accurate measuring of some figure. But for business decision and everyday decisions that we make based on our research, we can use sample because that's most effective in terms of price, time, and accuracy. The same goes to all neurometrics. That's why we actually doing smart and simple and affordable and fast and flexible affordable solutions. That doesn't mean that it's quick and dirty, not at all. We use techniques that are mostly can be applied online, which is the most, let's say, affordable method of data collection at the moment. But also, all those techniques that we use now are validated in a way that Manuel explained shortly. So that's actually our main approach here. I'll present very simple measures that are in a way neglected in the offers and of course in our clients' requests, but actually they're well validated and invalidated in a correlation with other more expensive and more demanding techniques that for which we need experimental conditions and so on. So one of those measures is reaction time. And I like this story about reaction time. That was the first behavioral measure that we launched here in Serbia. And actually, the results that we got were very useful and our clients like it very much. We can use, instead of reaction time, we can use different techniques. And when our clients asking for intuitive, spontaneous reactions, automated responses that were in the past, we were not able to capture them. Now we can use brain activity, we can use EEG, but why we can use so expensive and demanding techniques instead of just reaction time? And we can use it. And and one of the, let's say, the most interesting paradigm example of using reaction time, because I suppose that most of you is familiar with Sensidium frame, and maybe Ipsos in Serbia is also very famous because of it. And as you know, for measuring, we use, of course, Sensidium for exploring needs, and deeper needs, emotions, and so on. And for long years, we use it in a usual way, using self-reporting measures. Now we make a change and we use reaction time. And that actually opened up the whole spectrum of the new possibilities to analyze data, to make different conclusions, deeper conclusions, and to capture that more subtle and let's say more subtle and deeper feelings and motives behind. So we use it for brand metal networks, brand territories, and brand assets. My colleague, Steven Earth, will tell you the story about the usage of reaction time for this whole brand area of research, which was very demanding in the past. We had very large scale interviews, and at the end they became in a way not user friendly for our clients, but also for the respondents. So Steven is one of the, let's say, main experts in Sensidium frame, participated to develop, to include a reaction time as a measure for whole paradigm that includes Sensidium. Instead of that, I personally like, I told you that I personally I like reaction time, so I will actually explain simple example of using reaction time to capture preferences, and also something that we call passion on engagement. And in the other hand, to meet the client's very frequent request, when you actually very frequently you have a lots of idea and you want to rank that, and that's a kind of abundance of different unique or different long list. And also you need fast research, quick research, and to recover that's something very important and passionate and engaging for respondent and future consumer, and also to have let's say clear winner. And that's why we invented the tool that is called Dual, and it collects two kinds of data and combining explicit and implicit measures, or more automatic reactions with preferences that are considered as more declarative ones. So we are measuring reaction time, and also we're facing to each other different attributes or visuals or slogans or wherever to see preferences. And we're actually, every time we have a forced choice. So a respondent is faced with two options, and not scaling, rating different options on the long list. How it works, let's see. Imagine that we have this simple example with t-shirts. So this is the first round, and you will, for example, choose the blue one, and after that you will choose blue one again, but against the other t-shirt, and so on and so on. And we will record two measures. One is choice, which is more explicit, and the second one, reaction time, which is a kind of automated reaction. It's more intuitive, and this is this measure is about engagement, passion, and so on. So finally, we have actually very simple results, smart solution that allow us to go through different topics such as claims, variety, names, visuals, and we can do it very fast using simple measures and combining explicit and implicit responses. And I'm not sure that you're gonna have one clear winner, but two or one very sure. And also you actually can delete the whole list of unnecessary ideas that can't work at all. Our clients like it, and I suggest you to try it. After time, we are going to visual perception, and Manuel already mentioned it. It was a kind of very frustrating question, because when clients wants to know about what drives attraction to their products, or what the respondents see first, or things that actually related to automated response, and this response cannot be captured in self-reporting measures, because we usually are not aware of that. And wherever you ask, in wherever way, the response will be declarative and rational. So we actually combine two measures. Eye tracking is the best response for that, the best technique for the visual inspection, and all research that includes a kind of visual materials that should be tested and explored. So, of course, eye tracking is used, it's an established technique and used very long, but actually we wanted to have it online, in online mode. Why? Because it's more affordable, more actionable, and more agile. And we also were suspicious about that. But Manuel told you how we actually validated the model, and now we're ready to offer it for some business questions, for packaging, simple shelves, ads, and website. Of course, in the offline mode, we can use it for shopper research and UX research when more accurate and precise calibration is needed. Manuel told you about lab conditions that should be present in the case that you need a very subtle details and complex environment that you're exploring. But for the questions that our clients usually have, that's evaluation of the packaging, visuals, and so on, we offering our online module of eye tracking. And for this purpose, we actually decided to design the study for Ipsos Brewery, and to explore two stimuli, two different routes of pack. Our clients want to launch a new beer, and they're questioning which route is much better. Will work better. I need a glass of water. And that's why we employed eye tracking module. Beer is conceived to be in the mainstream category, and we organized the survey. That's real survey. It's ongoing now, and it's on. We have two cells testing in Serbian panel. The respondents are 80 to 55, and length of interview is 10 minutes. And you will see the results. Of course, I forgot to show you the stimuli. This is one, and this is second, and this is the one, the first shelf. This is the another one. So my colleague Jan Payne will tell you the results of the study on the session about eye tracking that will be held, and we will discuss together about the interpretation and also the whole science behind of the eye tracking. So stay tuned, vote for your winner, and we'll see who will has best guest. And finally, we are coming to emotions. Emotions are also very frustrating topic for long years, because we talk a lot about emotions, and especially in advertising and branding. And all of us actually wants to have emotional attached to the consumers, to the brands, and so on. But emotions are questions that facing that is, let's say, the very hard question that was exploring by human scientists almost more than a century. And now we are able to offer something which is a validated tool, and then can be used for measuring effective response. Honestly, when I saw facial coding, I was very suspicious, and I was like, how you can measure emotions, and is it possible to do it by tracking your facial expression? But today, after some practice with it, and also with confidence in validated study that done by Ipsos, I'm pretty satisfied with the results that we get, and also very happy with the clients' reactions about that. So my colleagues on the next few sessions will talking about facial coding, also in other ways of recording emotional reactions. But now I tell you what we get from facial coding. We can capture intensity, how long that emotional reaction lasts, expressions, and so on. And that is based on the 6 basic emotions. And in the combination, we can get the results that are frequently coming, for example, from brain imaging and EEG. You know that are very expensive techniques, but now we can use in a much more comfortable way without, laboratory conditions and so on, just using online module and doing testing for any TV material. So how it looks originally through research, my colleague Matthew Ribble will tell you on our last session, but I will just show you a sneak peek how actually facial coding looks like. I mean, the recording of the reactions and some of results. We usually use this technique for testing video materials, mostly for TVCs, and insights that you get from this measure, that is actually additional measure on all other measures, combining different in the questionnaires are included also other measures, but this one is about effective reaction. And look at how it works and what it gives to us. You can see we have engagement, happy and negative reactions, and we also kind of follow how it lines all those lines are going down and so on. So based on that, we can distinguish major from minor scenes, check potential trouble of the trouble spots on TVC, identify barriers for higher performance, ensuring that the brand is present, and also identify ad variants with a higher potential. So just based on this measure, our testing is testing is important. And we're very, very proud of you sure that validation, the measures are validated well, and the results are very applicable, and also they, as I said, it could be done online, and also could be included in different projects, survey projects. So stay tuned. Matthew Rebel will tell you much more about it. And so far, we are very proud of the techniques that we validated. Thank you, thanks to Manuel and his colleagues. And also, we are very happy to hear from Manuel what's next in Ipsos, actually, how we will develop neuroscience in the future, and what our clients can expect in the future.
Thank you. Yeah, we're at the top of the hour, so I'm gonna be mindful of time, but I'm excited to spend like a few minutes explaining some of the things we're working on, and then some of the documents you can request if you want to learn more. Is my screen on?
Yes, it is. Sorry.
Okay. Thank you. So first of all, Ipsos is very committed to innovation, and this is why, once again, in 2020, Ipsos was the #1, the most innovative company in market research, as rated by a grade for a second year in a row. So we take this very seriously, innovation with a lot of science behind. There's even a global team that manages an innovation program where we leverage all the brilliant minds at Ipsos all across the United countries, all 18,000 people who can submit innovative ideas, and that's how we get things going. So I just wanted to mention briefly 3 things that we are working on right now, and as we've been mentioning during this whole hour, we're focusing on approaches and applications that can be very scalable. So one is emotion measurement. So we're working on a very scientific-based evaluation of the emotional experience. That's based on dimension, that's based on very recent research, with the objective of developing a large database of words that are rated on the emotion that they have behind, in a way that's coming from the different countries and the different languages and not translated, so it's particularly relevant for each culture. And with that, we could like up our game on everything text analytic. We are also working on integrating galvanic skin response, mostly to better understand content in a natural environment. So collecting galvanic skin response from people at home. And we're also working now and doing some R&D on decision process tracing. So capturing the whole decision making continuously during binary choices. So not just the response time that is very insightful as we do now, but the whole decision making process in a way that's very scalable through the cell phone. So some things that we're working on, and we are generally open to more opportunities. If you guys have some ideas in mind, we are happy to collaborate. And then before I say goodbye, if you want to know more, your Ipsos Global Science Organization is always present on scientific publications and scientific conferences. One of the being optimistic, positive things of the pandemic is that since the conferences happen online, there's video footage of all of our presentations here. So if you're interested in any of that, we are happy to share it. As I mentioned before, we have a number of Ipsos Scientific Reports that are technical scientific publications on different topics. If you guys are interested in that level of technicality for the decision-making model, for GSR, for EEG, for some of the R&D we're doing, and now a fresh new one on our framework on emotion. We have a lot of thought leadership around, but I want to focus just on the most recent one. We have an Ipsos Views that came out, I think, in March. That's called the Retail Roller Coaster, and it talks about like the neuroscience underpinnings of the new reactions to shopper behavior and retail to and after the pandemic. So very relevant. Time to Decide just came out yesterday with a big focus on response time in the light of our decision-making framework and featuring 3 key applications: Dual, there's Nezana I was talking about, also InnoTest, and multi-choice response time that Stephen Nerd will talk about, I believe, on June 10th. Service with Mind, where we did some research in collaboration with our colleagues at Temple University on what's the impact of mask wearing for the customer experience, and Making Most of Our Regrets, on which we review the impact of anticipated regret on consumer research and how to measure it. So all of this available to you. Some of those also have like presentation podcasts around that you can comfortably listen to, and that's definitely gonna help you on your consumer research. And I think this is all from me. Voila, everyone. It's been a pleasure. Thank you guys for having me.
Thank you, Manuel, very much. I hope that was very interesting and a meaningful presentation. I would say a lecture, because we actually get from you a lot of knowledge and complexity that is behind all those techniques. That's the first one. The second one is about the validation and how we are able now to use smart solutions based on our thanks to our science organization, and we are actually comfortable and confident to offer it to our clients. That actually was the main message from us to the region. And also I would like to share with you the schedule of the other sessions and to call you to hear more about the practical usage. And also we will have all our colleagues that are very experienced with these methods. And I would like to share with you other materials if you are interested. So just contact us and we will be more than happy to share it with you. Thank you for today's attention. I hope that we delivered that we promised. And see you next time. That is next Thursday at 3 o'clock. So till that, enjoy time and think about neuroscience done by Ipsos. Thank you.